Hello and welcome to Whiskey Resource. My name is Mark. This is review number 139, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Bell's 8-year-old blended Scotch whisky, a Diageo product. So Bell's quite a familiar staple of the supermarket shelves. The normal bottle is a non-age statement. I haven't actually reviewed Bell's on this channel yet. This is the first one. This is the 8-year-old, which they typically release at Christmas time. It is, as I say, a Diageo product, 40% ABV. It's a blend of malts and grain whiskies from over 35 distilleries. We assume across the Diageo range of distilleries. It'll be coloured and it will be chill filtered. It retails, well, going online and having a look, not many people carry this at all. It tends to be the supermarkets, so Tesco's have it at the moment on offer for £18, normally £22, and Sainsbury's have it on at £22 at the minute. I'm sure the other supermarkets also sell it, but those two I am aware of. So getting that average of 20, I know the normal price is 22, but we're going on the average of £20 a bottle, you will be looking at a value score of 84.5 out of 100, which is slightly higher for an average value score than a lot of other blends in the blended Scotch area, simply because this has an 8-year age statement on it. Not many do. The Chivas Regal has a 12-year-old age statement and typically picked up for about the same price, about £20. And the Chivas, which we have reviewed, go check that out, is an exceptionally good blended Scotch whisky. So you can probably see the box here. There, it mentions something about that. Pitlochry is the home to Bell's, and that is, of course, at the Bray Athol distillery. The majority of the Bray Athol single malt whiskies, Bray Athol I reviewed not long ago, goes into this particular blended Scotch. A lot of the single malt, I believe it's somewhere in the region of 97%, I want to say, of all the single malt from Bray Athol goes into the Bell's, which is a shame because the Bray Athol single malt, the 12-year-old, is a fantastic whisky. Sherry whisky, of course. They don't say an awful lot about Bell's. I'm sure lots of people know exactly what goes into the Bell's and exactly what type of casks they use, but of course it will be probably a range of different cask profiles. It just says on the box that it's barrel aged in oak casks, which will, the majority of whiskies barrel aged in oak casks. Other words can be used, but generally it's oak casks and it's barrel aged. That's kind of Scotch whisky rules. I've had a little bit out of this. I've had a couple of drams, just small drams. Let's get into the tasting and nosing in my little Bray Athol Glencairn. Cheers. So on the nose, it's very grain heavy, quite sweet. There's a tiny bit of sherry coming across on the nose, but not a massive a lot. It's mainly grain. On the palate, it's the same story. It's sweet with the grain. Then there's a bit of a sherry note. But to be honest, it's overpowered massively by that grain. I think most budget blended Scotch whiskies rely on grain heavy. Quite youthful 3-year-old, 4-year-old grain goes into it to keep the price down. And this is just another example of that. Towards the finish, you're starting to get a bit of a smoky kick. It is smoke. It does come across as a smoke there on the finish. And it's not too unpleasant. But this particular bottle, the youthfulness does come across. It needs more time to age. think it's that grain. Now, obviously, I mentioned there that the grain is 3-year-old. It's not for this. It's going to be 8-year-old or older, the grain. Normal bells, you're looking at 3 to 4-year-old. I would say, going into this, the balance isn't quite right. There needs to be more of the single malts, I think, go into it, because those lovely sherry elements that are just there aren't quite strong enough. The texture is a little bit too watery. You're getting only very small oil detection going on there. It's not a terrible dram. It's not a terrible blended Scotch whisky by all means. I would say £22 is a lot for the calibre of whisky that you can pick up for that price. A couple of quid more, you can pick up Glenfiddich 12. For typically less than this, you can pick up the Shiraz that I mentioned, the 12-year-old Shiraz. And of course, you've got Glenmorangie. You can pick up the sherry cask or some of the Elgin Classics ranges of the Glenmorangies. You can pick up Tullibardine. You can pick up Glenkeith. There's so many Octotion great whiskies you can pick up at the same price as this that don't have that, which can be harsh grain quality. Unfortunately, this has a little bit too much of it, unless you like that, of course. And it's all personal preference. And I'm not totally right on my opinion on this. It's just my opinion. Would I buy another bottle of this? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy another bottle of this. In fact, I didn't buy it. I used my Nectar points and redeemed against this because I had plenty of Nectar points. So I redeemed 22 quid's worth of Nectar points at Sainsbury's to pick this bottle up, so I didn't actually spend any money on it. And I don't regret it. It's given me a classic whiskey to try, and I will be offering this to guests over Christmas as a first dram, or maybe an ending dram on the evening to try and clear the bottle off. But I should suspect that this bottle is going to stay pretty full for some time, and I wouldn't even put it in my Christmas cake. That smoky elements on there, I don't think it would quite work. It's not terrible. If you want to find out how I actually score it, then by all means visit my website. Link will be down there in the description, and you can find out a bit more information that I haven't been able to put in this review, as well as how I actually score it overall. The Bell's 8-year-old, staple of Christmas, not staple of this household. There it is.